Fire uses on the internet. Sky Fire News. Fire News. Fire News. Yes, sir. Skyfire News, the best UFO show on the internet. Skyfire News is on the internet. Come look for no TV, mom. Sky Fire News.
What up?
There it is. There it is. Welcome to Skyfire News. It's your daily UFO news. That's what we're doing here. We do it all the time. And we're bringing you all the topics that are important to the topic. Red Panda, we have an interesting show today because we're talking about the Department of Energy, baby.
There was a hearing today that everyone was talking about, so we're going to deep dive it. But before we do, let's shout out the chat.
Yeah.
Small little chat today. UFO Lake Group. Popping off. We got Alana, Skyfire Red Panda, Skyfire Tupa. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Casual Links, Rocket Red Countdown, Liftoff Face, Orange TV Shape. YP Zach, Alien Emoji, heck yeah. Michael Fregosa, Skyfire Tupa, Red Panda. Let's go.
Yeah.
Derek Dougherty, Emojis, hell yeah. Kimby's in the mix. Uh-oh.
Good to see ya.
Y'all know what time it is. UAP Mike, DOE, what up? Alien girlfriend of the show, 111 Invasion is here. Uh-oh, let's go. Hell yeah. David Altman, yo, yo, yo. All right.
What's up, David?
Kimmy says, fuck RPK. Oh, yeah.
That's nice. Keeping it classy in here.
Thank you, Kimball.
I hate Skyfire News. I hate Tupacabra. I fucking hate Red Panda. And I hate Heather. Like, I genuinely hate them.
You know, Kimball gets like half credit for
Rough.
that clip. You know that, right?
Yeah, he does. He does. He gets half. What's Lou up to these days? Just being great at being an ass. I can't have fuck RPK on the screen. We got to get rid of that. I'm almost over the cold. We're over the hump. We're on the way out.
Hate leads to fear. Does Keemstar ever show up? Says 1-2. Keemstar owns this, right? Or something like that? Legit question.
It is a good question. Do you guys want to see Keemstar tell you about the UFO news? Or do you want to have Red and Panda and I tell you about the UFO news? I don't know.
He comes around from time to time, for sure.
Absolutely.
He's been on plenty of times.
Keem's actually plugged. I mean, we talk about this stuff all the time with him. And he's following everything from, Corbell to even like the Ashton stuff. But You know what's funny is the Terrence Howard thing. I was kind of ahead of that one. But yeah, he's an open-minded guy. The UFO news, though, now we're in this waiting game. We're in a waiting game of Lou Elizondo's book.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with that? We have this dispute between Kirkpatrick and the inner circle. And then we also have a new whistleblower in the mix, Jason Sands, who has, believe it or not, like it or not, complicated things a little bit. You have Sheehan, the lawyer extraordinaire, Lou Elizondo's lawyer, Stephen Greer's former lawyer, right? He's saying that Sands wasn't playing ball. He doesn't take advice, so they don't fucks with him. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to be following, a lot of stuff going on. We're sitting, waiting patiently. And also, there's a sighting in Oregon, in Bend, Oregon. We're looking into because it seemed to be in the same shape or formation as a researcher named Patrick Jackson, who is cited often by Gary Nolan, and probably the Soul Foundation has some interest in what Patrick Jackson's doing. And that's the shape these three little orbs of light were in. So we're looking into that as well. But for now, it is the talk of the town, the Department of Energy. Red, tell me everything I need to know about the Department of Energy. Why is it coming up? Why is it not called the Department of UFOs? What's happening? Right.
Oh, wait, no, I was just curious because he pumped this show, but you guys are on the UFO mainstream, Corbell, etc., and I think it's the wrong one. Reach out to Dark Journalist, maybe. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, so today the Department of Energy had a hearing with the House Oversight Committee, I believe, and got a little presentation. We're going to cover that hearing, and then we're going to cover some of the UFO connections related to the Department of Energy. We got Grush clips in here.
Shout out
we got
to Luna.
Mellon clips in here. We got Greer witness clips in here. So yeah. And there's Bay, Rep Anna Paulina Luna. She was killing it today. So let's, I guess, just go ahead and begin. So I think the first thing coming up here we got is just what happened today at the hearing. And I guess...
So yeah, why is the Department of Energy being talked about today?
So at this hearing, the UFO topic came up. And for people who don't know, the Department of Energy oversees like all nuclear... energy and weapons, and so we're going to be covering a little bit about the history of that, but their name always comes up in UFO stuff. We're going to be covering all of that too. Everyone knows there's the UFO nuclear connection, right?
Yeah, which is like they show up around nuclear test sites and nuclear explosions. There's some sightings and reports of interaction there too. Even some suspicion that Roswell crash may have been influenced by some testing that was going on in the area, either by nuclear or radio. So yeah, there's a weird connection there.
Yeah, the Roswell, the 509th Bomber Group was the ones who dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We're out of there. Isn't that interesting? Very, very interesting. So yeah, so their name always comes up for various reasons, and they do seem to have like a lot of, I mean, even separate of UFO stuff, right? Overseeing nuclear security and nuclear energy. Uh-oh.
Oh, snap. Alana.
Nowadays I'm all about the fatty. You better get some. Too busy hating, ain't getting none. Me, I'm all about the fatty. Ain't getting none. Me, I'm all about the fatty. Yeah, they ain't ready for.
Thank you. Thanks for the support, Alana. We got a member in the house. Love listening to y'all, and I've really enjoyed Tupa's imminent spaces. No relation to the book. It's just these things are imminent. These things are happening.
DOE got all the skeletons, says Dave Tedball. So yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, is there anything else worth pointing out like this early on? Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. Was that even separate of UFO stuff? You have to imagine overseeing nuclear assets and whatnot. It's super high security. Like the DOE has like their own like military basically to guard and facilitate the transport of nukes and whatnot. So. And then when you tie in the UFO nuclear connection, it kind of makes sense that this branch of the government would be largely connected. Enigma Seeker says, we need more Democrats to speak out. It used to be pretty balanced, but lately it's kind of been leaning Republican. Have you noticed that, Tupa?
which is uncharacteristic in my opinion. Typically, Democrats are leading the charge. If you've ever noticed that when a Democrat is in the seat as the president, then it becomes a hot button topic. Isn't that interesting? Andrew Bustamante called attention to that. The CIA agent. He's the one who talked about that. So I'll find the clip if I can later on. But yeah, I think it is strange that right now we have a ton of Republicans that are leading the charge. Do you think it's religious?
But there is a bunch of like Schumer, right? The Schumer Act, everyone's raving about. Democrat.
Chuck.
Gillibrand, still technically Democrat.
True.
Podesta, you know what I mean? But yeah, so let's continue. So this was the
Mellon.
hearing. Yep, this was the hearing today.
What is the responsibility of the Federal Protective Services within the Nuclear Security Administration?
Are you talking about transporting fuels?
No, ma'am. I want you to speak. Well, I was going to follow up with the numerous reports by the Federal Protective Services officers describing suspicious occurrences of UAPs over nuclear facilities.
Oh, let me just say the Defense Department has said there is no evidence of UFOs, et cetera, or aliens in the United States. However, at those sites, there may be.
That was kind of weird, huh? There's no evidence of anything. I'm about to light her up because there's some interesting stuff on the DOE website. But
Really?
drones that may be nefarious. And so we are definitely looking at that.
okay, so people were pointing that out too earlier. She says there's no UAP, but there are drones around all these sites. So people were saying that's like a W in like the most cope way, I guess. But there's an acknowledgement that there is something flying around these sites, at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
making sure that our national security sites are protected. We have a whole program related to countering drones that may be coming
Okay.
from.
Well, this isn't about drones, and this is prior to drones even. What protocols does the Department of Energy have for reporting and responding to any UAP sightings near nuclear
I love them.
infrastructure? And people joke about this,
Right.
but I get a lot of questions about this concerning this and about this hearing today from my constituents. So I would appreciate you answering that if there are any protocols.
Well, certainly there are protocols whenever we see anything unusual around our nuclear sites or our national security sites writ large.
Secretary Granholm, earlier
And then we got Bay coming in. Any thoughts on that first exchange between Burchett and
Yeah, I love that guy. He got right to the point. He's like, no, this is before drones. We're not here to talk about drones. You know what the fuck we're here to talk about. So my constituents are concerned. This is the answers they want. Will you please answer these questions? Like, he's not here for the corporate jargon, dude.
And apparently Homegirl here has only been on for like a few months, so she might not even know. You know what I mean?
she got a tough job ahead of her.
Yeah. But let's go to now.
Secretary Granholm, earlier when Representative Burchett asked you about some UAP stuff, you said that the DoD essentially had denied any existence of that, and you referred to them as drones, correct?
It's my understanding that the Department of Defense has looked at this
Okay.
and issued a report about it.
I have a lot of questions, so just quick and concise if possible. There have been persistent claims and reports, including those from credible whistleblowers to this committee, suggesting that the U.S. government, potentially including the Department of Energy, has been involved in reverse engineering technologies recovered from UAP. For example, the Pentagon's proposed Kona Blue program aimed at reverse engineering such technologies, although it was ultimately not established. Can you clarify whether the Department of Energy has been involved in any such efforts, or, either historically or currently, to analyze reverse engineering materials from related to UAPs?
I have no knowledge of that.
Even though that's kind of like an L for us, right? It is still pretty fascinating that like they're talking about Kona Blue and reverse engineering programs and the Department of Energy, even though they're saying like, no, I don't know about it. The fact that that conversation is happening at such a high level,
That's
people can't say things aren't different than they were before, man.
It's huge. It's huge to have this said to this woman.
This poor lady.
Okay, there are several reports indicated frequent drone incursions over DOE nuclear facilities, including an incident on April 1st, 2021 at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, also known as LLNL. Can you detail the DOE's current security measures to prevent unauthorized drone activities or UAPs, and what steps are being taken to enhance these measures of frequencies of incidences?
Yeah, we have a whole counter drone effort to make sure that all
Uh-oh. Super chat. Let's see where we're at. Boom, boom,
So
boom.
nowadays I'm all about the fatty. You better get some. Too busy hating, they ain't getting none. Me, I'm all about the fatty. They getting none. Me, I'm all about the fatty. Yeah, they ain't ready for.
Damn.
Chef C says, listen, boys, serious question. Who's your daddy? Dave Daddy, Carl Daddy, or Lou Daddy? You can only pick one.
Dave Daddy.
Dave Daddy for sure.
Yeah, he seems nice.
Carl has potential, but Dave and like Lou is like for sure no. But shouts out Lou. There's always a way back. What about you, Chef? What do you guys pick out of all those three? Who's your guys' favorite counter intel disclosure, bro?
You can only pick one.
Enigma Seeker says Lou Daddy.
Bold choice.
Oh, Heather Birdie says Space Daddy. Let's go.
From,
All right,
from
let's play a little more
outside
of
the
that.
box.
Thank you for that, Chef C. Oh, Chef C says Lou Daddy for life. Hey, we welcome all the Lou fans here.
Yeah.
Dude, Mike's here. Mike's in the chat. Mike says Lou crew as it gets.
With a lie detector test determined that was a lie.
That's our only Lou meme we have so far. So we'll have to get
1-2 says none. They are all part of the op.
Damn.
Honestly, it's such a paradigm, the ufologist dilemma, right? You need it, you don't. You can't trust the people who are the ones who are basically going to tell you. Horrible place to be.
All of our
So
national
true.
security sites and our labs are protected from incursions from drones, I'll just say, that are not authorized. So there's a whole series of protocols, probably not ripe for discussion in this public setting.
Correct. So I reviewed some unclassified materials from around the 40s and 50s, and so they weren't just being reported as drones back then. And I encourage you to look over those materials because I think that you guys should be upgrading that program to cover down on UAPs. There have been
Based. Hell yeah.
Yep.
Hell yeah. Luna. Boom.
I feel like they came prepared knowing that they were going to get the runaround, and they're just like, listen, just fucking do your job. All right, we got people asking us questions.
I like how she's giving, I mean, not specific names and dates, but I'm sure she's going to get the staff to give them or something. But like, yeah, it's not just some broad open thing. It's like, no, this was reported by y'all. Some of the first ever, and we're going to cover this, some of the first ever UFO reports were around Manhattan Project sites, which
Really?
basically Manhattan Project becomes Atomic Energy Commission, more or less, becomes the Department of Energy. So like some of the oldest things tie into this nuclear connection. So
documented sightings of metallic spheres over DOE facilities, if you want to call them drones in this instance, such as one report on April 30th, 2019 over LLNL. What investigations have been conducted in regards to these sightings, and what conclusions do you guys have about the nature and origins of these objects?
I'm happy to follow up with you on that.
Okay, we'll be submitting also
she realized that they were serious. She was like, oh, I can't be joking around.
for public record some questions after this, if you could please answer those. Considering the DOE's involvement in nuclear and sensitive research facilities, how does the DOE coordinate with agencies like the Department of Defense and AARO to investigate UAP sightings?
We obviously are teamed with the Department of Defense because of our national security and nuclear mission.
Are you able to cite any specific investigations or shared data analysis efforts?
I don't have information on that.
Okay. As of right now, again, we'll be submitting some questions for you after this, but I hope that you guys can answer those in a timely fashion. And again, for those that might be tuning into this, I would encourage you to look at some of those unclassified materials, and we'll be happy to provide your office with that. I'll just follow up by one other question, I guess, to close it out. Does the DOE currently work with JSOC in order to handle security measures?
We work with all of the security entities around the federal government. We're part of an overall all-of-government effort on both cyber as well as national security.
Do you guys work with JSOC? Yes or no?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. I yield the rest of my time, Chairman.
Bruh. Dude, is she like the queen of disclosure or what?
Yes, yes. All hail the queen.
All hail the queen, dude. So they did kind of get a little bit of a run around Timber Chet in the hallway afterwards. So let's go there. Boom.
Hell yeah.
All right. Thank you
Shit.
very much, ma'am. I yield the rest of my time, Chairman.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett, just leaving oversight. Several questions to Secretary Granholm, and she was clueless. I asked her about some recent UAP sightings and UFO situations and that have been documented, and she kind of smirked and said something a little smart, I thought. And then I asked her about our use of energy over at our military bases using Russian energy, and we just got finished having a meeting with an admiral who said they do it. She just laughed and said, "Oh, I don't know anything about that." And then I asked her about the small nuclear reactors, which are a huge deal. And then she told me maybe the biggest whopper. She said, the government's not standing in the way of rolling those out. And of course, who regulates them but the federal government? She's very arrogant. She condescending to the point, I think, but she was clueless, which is even worse. She wouldn't even come before the committee until we threatened a subpoena. Just the arrogance of these folks is just unbelievable. No wonder 3% of the vehicles are electric and they're forcing it down our throats. And car lots have them and they are having trouble getting rid of them.
All right, so. Oh, that JSOC thing too. I was talking to UAP Mike. Shouts out UAP Mike. That's like Joint Special Operations Command, which is basically like facilitating operations and stuff like that. Apparently, it goes like supersedes a lot of other things. Oh, what you got down here?
I'm just looking at. So we got the Manhattan Project went into the Atomic Energy Commission, and then that turned into the Department of Energy. So I'm just kind of laying this down and seeing like what we could fit into in between as we start to learn more.
Oh, the Tupa timeline IRL. They said it was never going to see the light of day.
Look at it now, baby. So yeah, this is, I don't know, I find it very fascinating. I mean, we've been told that the Manhattan Project level secrecy was applied to the UFO situation, right? Which started in 1947, right? Which is coincidentally the same year of Roswell and the CIA. All these different things happen. It seems like something happened where it wasn't just an accidental crossover. So yeah, as we keep learning more, I'll keep adding to this. But this is wild.
Chef C says JSOC are the boots on the ground for the crash recovery and UAP enforcement. And I think Chris Sharp has reported on this from like I don't think they're public sources. Maybe they are, but that is like one of the running narratives out there these days. 1, 2. These politicians are all clowns. They have nothing but perception of power. A deep state exists, and it's in charge of anything that might be useful for disclosure, and they are immune from question. Okay, so where are we at here? Okay, let's go to our next slide. I forgot. I just kind of whipped this up. So let's see. Oh yeah. So remember I said I was going to light this girl up. So here's on the Department of Energy website. There's a whole subsection for UFO UAP resources, right? So isn't it weird that she was like, maybe we could go back to.
What is the responsibility of the Federal Protective Services within the Nuclear Security Administration?
Are you talking about transporting fuels?
No, ma'am. I want you to speak. I was going to follow up with the numerous reports by the Federal Protective Services officers describing suspicious occurrences of UAPs over nuclear facilities.
Oh, let me just say the Defense Department has said there is no evidence of UFOs, et cetera, or aliens in the United States. However,
okay, so she says that, but then on their website they have this, right, which is a whole subsection. They do have the NASA thing, which they did say a lot of stuff was prosaic, but they didn't do like a case closed on everything. But they also have the UAPTF preliminary assessment. So after 2017 happened, there was all the 3 videos leaked. There was all this push to get like Congress to investigate this. There was a series of UFO investigation efforts, right? You had the UAP task force, which is what Carl Nell and Dave Grush were on. And that's where they were basically tasked with, it's when they got a liaison from like all these different departments to like investigate this UFO thing. And then after that, it's kind of when the people will say like the federal government started pushing back, and that's when they made AIMSOG, and then it became Arrow. So but people will say that like the UAPTF was probably the best of all of them. It kind of reminds me of the Project Sign, Project Grudge, Project Blue Book timeline. It really does. It goes UAPTF, AIMSOG, Arrow. It's really interesting how history aligns like that. But this is on the Department of Energy website, and what's extra interesting about this is on page like 9 of it right here. There's some interesting things like right there it says a handful of UAP appear to demonstrate advanced technology. In 18 incidents described in 21 reports, observers reported unusual UAP movement patterns and flight characteristics. Or flight characteristics. So it's just interesting that she said that, and then on their own website they have this report, right? And that's just barely scratching the surface, but that's just like a pretty clear and blatant, oh, what you got going on here? You know what I mean?
Yes. God, this is weird.
Okay, so a little nuke montage, yo. Just because to get us set, now we're going to go back a little bit, right? Boom. Let's say, is it going to work?
Is this Trinity and Beyond?
I don't even know. It's just, I just... So yeah, I'm just going to talk over this a little bit, but the Manhattan Project created the nuclear bombs, right, during World War II, and it's actually really cool. My last video, well, technically 2 ago, on my main channel, Science and UFOs, covers a lot of this stuff because Edward Condon and a bunch of them were in that. But after this, like a lot of the scientists who worked on the bomb and stuff like that, they didn't like the military having complete control over that stuff. So a bunch of them lobbied, a bunch of the scientists who worked on it lobbied to get civilian control, quote unquote, of atomic energy and atomic power. And maybe let's put on some of that good music. Let's see. Okay. So yes. So after the bomb drops, a bunch of the scientists are like, holy crap, what the hell did we just do? Like, oh my god, we have to be more concerned and like careful with the use of this stuff. So a bunch of scientists lobbied for the civilian oversight of atomic energy and atomic weapons. Among them were on the left here, let's see, we got Edward Condon, who a lot of these guys were pioneers of quantum physics, which was like the science that kind of was needed to be understood to create the bomb. So Edward Condon, who would later go on, do you know who he is, right, Tupa?
The Condon report guy?
Yeah, there we go. You would later go on to run the Condon report in the 60s, which basically like put the case closed on Blue Book and debunked UFOs officially basically until 2017. The conclusions of his report. And even it was cited the whole way through, like in the 90s when there was a 90s push, his report was cited as like, no, it's already looked into. In the middle here we got Oppenheimer, of course, like head of the Manhattan Project. He was a big guy who was really for the advocating of civilian control. Over here on the right, this is Philip Morrison. He was another quantum mechanics dude. Another interesting sub thing about all these guys is they all had like semi-communist ties, so they were kind of caught up in the Red Scare while doing a lot of this stuff. But what's interesting about Philip Morrison on the right here is he went on to like be really influential in the creation of SETI. So it's just kind of interesting. People will say Oppenheimer has a bunch of UFO connections, but for sure the guy on the left, Edward Condon, definitely has connections to UFOs. The guy on the right, I would say SETI is kind of like a psyop. I feel like they all knew. Yeah, I think it's just kind of like your attention, like, we're looking into it, don't worry, we haven't found anything, our best scientists are on it. But I just find it interesting that there's these UFO connections so early on. Let me see, what do we got here? Oh, and then we got some Grush talking about some of this, how... Oh, and I guess, real quick, too. What's important to note, too, is that the secrecy, right, in the Manhattan Project was like one of the most secretive things ever of all times at the point. Right. Especially when you consider what they were trying to do. People will say, and when Grush says here that secrecy was kind of overlaid. That secrecy was definitely overlaid to the Atomic Energy Commission, which was created as a result of this, and the Department of Energy. But then people also say that's overlaid to the UFO issue.
One question to ask someone who
shouts out Jesse Michaels
is not alive anymore, that you feel could answer a lot for you. Who would you pick, and what would the question be?
I would probably ask Sarbacher, Oppenheimer, and be like, what was your thought process in the 40s and 50s, squirreling this away? I mean, besides overlaying the Manhattan Project secrecy.
Because Oppenheimer was the one who created the classification that included...
Can't get into that. No. Okay. So they bring it somewhere in the United States. And was the attempt to try to back engineer this thing? Was the attempt to try to understand what it was?
Yeah, I mean, first of it, obviously, it's understanding the situation, right? What do we have our hands on? And like I've said in some other videos and stuff, you know, that we took the Manhattan Project secrecy and overlaid it on this issue because that secrecy worked well for atomic bomb developments and whatnots. And
So
certainly,
Grush is directly talking about the UFO stuff at this point, just so we're clear. And as I said earlier, Grush was on the UAP task force. He's everyone's favorite whistleblower these days. Everyone misses him, though. We miss him, huh, Tupa?
Absolutely.
There's not enough Grush out there. Make a Twitter, Grush. Don't follow
real.
harassers.
Yeah. Stipulations.
But he's talking about just like kind of like what I've been saying is this this atomic overlay was put onto the UFO issue, and he's coming to these conclusions based on his role. And people will say, "Oh, well, was he just being told this by Lou Elizondo and co?" Maybe, potentially, probably. But also, he did have clearance to a bunch of like stuff. Like people like to discount that. So,
check this out. You have like, I mean, it is kind of correct. The Manhattan Project here, right? Like kind of like in the mix. Oh, down here you have the atomic bomb, Project Paperclip. Then you get Roswell, right? And then you have the Atomic Energy Commission created. So this is like the kind of secrecy that kind of gets thrown over. But then there's all this activity that happens, right? All of it, from the McMinnville UFO, the Great Falls, the Lubbock Lights. It goes on the Flatwoods Monster. All kinds of crazy stuff's happening. And then all the way over here in 1977, it turns into the Department of Energy. And here you have a ton of other stuff too. The Tehran UFO sighting, Apollo 14, which is a big deal when you look at Apollo 14. So all of this stuff happens, and then it turns into the Department of Energy. So is this just swallowing up like all of these cases, all of this research, all of these this data?
that's what some people would claim, and I guess Grush would claim here.
Okay,
Again,
crazy.
we don't really know, right? Because there's all this secrecy, so we're speculating. But we are trying to do as like informed of speculation as we can to something like this, right?
So much activity happened in between. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay. I mean, I'm always curious about how the secrecy took place. How was it successful? And yeah, you kind of see it here. Like, that's a lot of information. They just swallowed up. Okay, cool.
whole program in a nutshell, if I were to like summarize the 90 plus years of history, it is a reverse engineering program.
The UFO stuff?
Oh, all those guys. The guys that were involved in Manhattan were overlaying the same ecosystem of secrecy and some of the same ways to protect stuff that they were protecting our nuclear secrets. If you read the definition of special nuclear material in the Public Atomic Energy Act of 1954, it basically states any material that releases any kind of atomic energy.
That would be retrieved, crash material.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a sneaky way.
No, it is. If you actually read the Atomic Energy Act, if something is not a nuke, but it has radiological energy coming off it, you know, alpha, beta decay, whatever.
Same secrecy.
Same secrecy.
Boom. There you go. So, as I said, some of the earliest reports of UFOs around Manhattan Project sites, even before Roswell. This one's from like 1954. I mean 1945, I believe, at the Hanford site, which was I believe in Washington, right? It was one of these sites where they would refine, I believe, some of the elements that were needed. I think Hanford was plutonium, but listen to this.
Got my wings down in Corpus Christi, Texas in 1944. May the 15th.
I love this shit.
We were called to the flight line to investigate a object that was flying over or moving around over the Hanford Ordnance Works. The object had been detected on a radar down in the neck of the Columbia River, just west of the Naval Air Station there.
This is my hood.
When we got down there, they told us that this boatie was out there right over the Hanford Ordnance Works and directed Lieutenant Commander Brown to take off and challenge him. Ensign C.T. Neal from South Carolina and I stayed on the ground. C.T. went down and got in another F-6F to back up Brown if he needed it. And I went up to the control tower to relay the information from the radar office to Brown. And we talked back and forth. We got Brown up there behind this object, and we asked him what he saw. He said, all I can see is a bright red or reddish orange fireball right up in front of me. There's no.
Isn't that interesting? I feel like we hear about these all the time. Red,
all
orange.
the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And I used to talk to a guy on Twitter who ended up having a conversation a year later with Sean Cahill about this. And I have like a diagram I drew up. I mean, there's so many cases. At one point I was talking to 3 different people who had seen this. One of them being Eric Mitchell. Sorry. Yes, that's correct. That's his name. Nailed it. So like, yeah, he's an experiencer. Then like another one being a guy who worked on a base who saw one of these things. Yeah, it's why even over the ships, right? These like miniature suns, these balls of orange light and plasma. So strange.
I'm gonna go up a little bit.
Eyes on Cinema. They really get this shit locked in.
Oh shoot! I think I messed this up all bad.
You're good. You're good.
Boom.
One question.
Got my wings down in Corpus Christi, Texas in 19. And I went up to the cadet. The object looked like? All that object was a fireball. And Commander Brown said.
What year was this, Red?
Figure out what it was.
I believe it was 1945.
45?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So before Roswell even.
Yeah.
And this was at the Hanford site, which is one of the many Manhattan Project sites around the country that were like all working on separate little components to make the bomb. So that's what I'm saying. This nuclear activity, this nuclear interest in, but from UFOs, like goes far back as it goes.
It was bright. He couldn't hardly stand it when he was getting closer to it. But he said he soon got out of range where it was nothing more than just a ball of light. There was no form or no noise to it.
But yeah, too bad. As I said, I love this shit, dude. Old white man talking about UFO stuff from like the 40s, 50s, the necktie, everything about it. Oh, I love this.
Dude, that bolo tie.
That he could detect. But the worst part of all of this is that my logbook never showed our experience, and I don't know yet why, but
a couple of
here's another guy.
But anyway,
I think this is a Greer witness coming
and
up
among
here.
these incidents were a couple of nuclear weapons sent into space were destroyed by the extraterrestrials. In talking to various contacts throughout, they would allude to the fact that these did happen. There was, for example, the missile, Minuteman missile, which destroyed the launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base. That's now a public matter of record. The one incident, for example, was they actually photographed the UFO following the missile as it climbed into space and shining a beam on it, which neutralized the missile. And this was recorded. It was all hushed up. They split up the team that observed it, but of course, eventually the news came out, and it was later published and confirmed it. The very end of the 70s or the early 80s, we attempted to put a nuclear weapon on the moon and explode it for scientific measurements and other things, which was not acceptable to the extraterrestrials.
So that's something you hear a lot about too, right? Even Tom DeLonge will say stuff like that. You know, what's interesting too is Carl Sagan worked on a project that was very similar to that. That was trying to nuke the moon.
Why were they hating on the moon so much?
And put nukes up into the atmosphere. They wanted to win. The official thing at the time is they wanted to win over the, what's it called? The satellite, the Russian satellite. Why can't I think of it? Damn it. The first satellite. Sputnik. There we go. Boom. Hell yeah.
In the mix.
So, and then.
My camera's not, though.
Yeah, real quick. This guy's United States Air Force Colonel Loren Diedrichson, who had top secret clearance in the U.S. Department of Energy in 1953. So, just some interesting Department of Energy stuff. Let's see, what do we got next? Oh, yeah. So, here's just some B-roll of, like, the stuff the Atomic Energy Commission did officially. You know what I mean? They oversee all this stuff. And as two people.
What were you filming and where were you?
I'm messing this up.
What were you?
Let's just listen to this one, right? It's always a fun one. The previous guy, I think, was talking about it too, but let's just listen to it.
Filming and where were you?
Just to emphasize the UFO nuclear connection.
I was officer in charge of optical instrumentation at Vandenberg Air Force Base from 1963 to 66.
That's
our job
California?
was to photograph. That's California, so right there on the coast.
Right.
And our job was to photograph with high-speed instrumentation every missile launch from Vandenberg going down the test range. They wanted to find out if we could figure out a place to put a telescope where we could get a side view of the missile so that we could see all 3 stages of powered flight. So I went up to Big Sur, California, up on a U.S. Forest Service road on Anderson Peak. I installed a telescopic sight up there. The Air Force flew in a huge catadioptric telescope from the Cape. It was built by Dr. Walter Manning at the Boston University. They put the telescope up there. And with that thing, which had a focal length of 2,500 inches, we photographed an Atlas missile raising up out of the fog cover and flying down range. We got all 3 stages of powered flight. And as the dummy warhead and the package flew on down range, we were all celebrating the fact that we had seen the thing and accomplished the mission. When I got back to the base with the film the next day, I was called into the office of Major Florence J. Mansman. And there were 3 people in gray suits standing in there. There was a 16-millimeter camera and a screen set up. Major Mansman said, "Lieutenant, sit down and watch this." And he turned down the lights, turned on the camera, on the projector, and the film came on. And I recognized it as the film that we'd shot at Big Sur the previous day. Toward the end of the flight, I was looking at Major Mansman saying, "Pretty good stuff, huh, sir?" And suddenly he said, "Just watch this." And as I watched, the warhead, the dummy warhead, the chaff that was put out in front of it as a decoy to deflect the Russian anti-missile tracking radar, everything was flying along, and suddenly, in the same direction this stuff was flying at about 8,000 miles an hour, an object came into the frame, shot a beam of light at the warhead, flew up to the top, shot another beam of light at the warhead, flew around the direction it was flying, shot another beam of light at the warhead, flew down, shot another beam of light at the warhead, and flew out the same way it came in.
Well, I don't see it. Why didn't you see this when you were shooting it?
Well, it was 600 to 800 miles away from us.
Oh, I got you. They confiscated.
Well, first of all, Major Mansman said to me, "What was that? Were you guys screwing around up there?" I said, "No, sir." And he said, "Then tell me what that was." And I said, "We got a UFO." And he said, "Lieutenant, you are never to speak of this again. As far as you're concerned, this didn't happen."
Hold on, guys.
Pretty wild stuff, hon. There's a bunch of stories like that related to nuclear weapons, even in other countries. So,
well, the creatures, I think, were calling me to help them. Everything was going to be all right. Then I was so mesmerized and into it, and Sergeant Allen and Atkins, they're hollering and they're cussing at me, get the hell out of there. Well, I think they lied. I think that they were scared, and they didn't want me to get hurt. I don't know. They were real pissed off at me after subsequently, but basically what happened was after we climbed back up, I think the DOE, Department of Energy people were there. They knew about it, and I don't know why we went there still to this day. But anyway, I was arrested. I had all my gear taken from me by men in black camis, had no name tags. They were older men, probably in their late 30s or 40s. How long was I at the site? Probably about 15, 20 minutes. We were the first people on the position, yeah.
So yeah, that's a Greer witness, I think.
That's crazy how casually he dropped that. Yeah, the Department of Energy guys were there. Still don't know why. Anyway, but I was like, dude, creepy.
And here's a compilation of some of these more modern people talking about it.
Is based off of the information that you've been privy
So this was from the hearing back in July of last year. Yeah.
to. Is there any indication that these UAPs are interested in our nuclear technology and capabilities?
Yes. By external observation, sure, that could be a fair assessment, yeah. Yes.
The other things that you brought up during the congressional hearing.
That's Dan Warren.
The sightings around our nuclear capabilities, our sites. And then you asked a very pointed question that I want to kind of pick your brain about.
Is there any indication that the Department of Energy is involved in UAP data collection and housing?
I don't have an answer.
I can't confirm or deny that in a public setting.
And could you do it in a secure setting?
Yes.
Well, I mean, the DOE.
Hey, Jay.
What
up? Oak Shannon. I believe he ran like Los Alamos Lab or something for a bit there. So in the DOE
mentioned by name in the Wilson Davis memo.
The DOE is high up on the list. How do you feel about their involvement? Well, I spent a lot of years in the Navy, so I grew up as a shade tail ensign, thinking that the DoD was the most hidebound organization imaginable. Until I worked for the DOE, they are even worse.
I am told that if you are looking for any retrieved non-human material that was ever retrieved by the United States, I'm told that where it resided before it was shoved off and hidden in private aerospace, probably in breach of laws of the Congress, probably in contempt of Congress, this material was in the possession of the Department of Energy.
But let me ask you this. If you were the president, wouldn't that be the first thing you would ask?
There is some stuff that I would immediately.
What would you do?
Yeah, I would. Good question. So I want to know the Department of Energy.
First thing he says, Tupa, Chris Mellon.
Crazy.
The mover, the shaker. The first thing he would want to go is the Department of Energy. Isn't that interesting?
Want to know all their special programs is one thing. I'd want to have a sit down with the director of operations at CIA.
So yeah, there you go. And I think that's about it. So there you go. That's a quick little overview of why this Department of Energy stuff is interesting today and popping.
What do they know?
What do they know?
What do they know, dude? No, that was great. That was a good background on whatever the hell the Department of Energy is hiding. Like now I think a lot of people have been able to kind of avoid it. And it's kind of a spooky topic. I mean, is it a no-go zone for researchers? Are people ever kind of intimidated if they touch on this topic too much?
I think so. I think people are a little bit scared of the Department of Energy in certain circles.
Damn. Hey, what year did that Atlas missile get shot down?
I want to say 1967, but I don't know.
I think so too. Yeah, so we got this. This is the little breakdown. This is what we get. Manhattan Project way over here. Probably too small to even see. Somewhere in here, the Hanford site thing goes down, right? And this is interesting, like that while all this is happening, you have Nikola Tesla dies in 1943, right? We get his papers. We know that. We know that John Trump got the papers, Donald Trump's uncle. That's interesting. And then all of a sudden we get this giant, like, boom. I don't know if you guys know this, but the Babylon Working thing from Jack Parsons took place in 1946, right? So along with all these kind of programs that are happening, you also have these strange esoteric events happening down here that are also pushing the boundary of what we know. So it's crazy. Is one a cover for the other? Not sure. Then you got Atomic Energy Commission popping off, Roswell, boom. That functions for a while. Tons of activity right here in the 50s. Atomic Energy Act is written. That's a big deal. Mentioned by Grush, right? And that's 53. Look what else happens in 53. Jack Sarfati received a phone call that he was going to be contacted by people in the future. Isn't that strange?
Well, you need to put on there too is the hydrogen bomb. I think it was like in 1952.
Ooh, the H bomb. I'm in it to win it. That would be like right around here or on this one. This is like for discoveries and whatnot, like Sputnik. That's crazy. Okay, so all this UFO activity plus a lot of this weird activity. These are Russell Targ, Hal Puthoff, Edgar Mitchell. That's who these guys are down here. So you get these weird patents for quantum electronics. Jacques Vallée's passport to Magonia pops out. So this is happening here. The Atlas missile gets shot down. Crazy when you look at how much activity was going on. You know what I mean? What was Jacques Vallée privy to? And you have now like Peter Levenda, these books, Secret Machines and whatnot. Are they soft disclosure, fictional stories? Is it? I don't know, but I like putting all this stuff together like this, and then eventually this Atomic Energy Commission turns into the Department of Energy, and now would be the top thing that Christopher Mellon looked into.
Isn't that wild?
Yes.
When you think about everything he knows.
Yes, that'd be the first thing he would go and do. Crazy. 1976. Look at all the weird stuff happening around that time. Travis Walton, Pascagoula abduction. Dorothy Izett has her first sighting. The WOW signal comes in 77. Crazy. Anyway, that's it. That's the show.
That was a fun one, right? Quick to the point, snappy. People watching hopefully learned something.
I learned something. Thank you, Red. That was dope.
Hell yeah. Now people are like, what's up with the Department of Energy? You at least could be like, I know a little bit.
Yeah, a little. Like we know kind of where it falls in context, at least chronologically, right? And then we also know how connected it is and how interested UFO insiders are in it. It keeps popping up. So we'll be on the lookout for more questions about the DOE. If you guys find anything else out there, hit us up. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. Live it up, guys. Red, that's the show.
Peace out, everyone. Great show.
This is Skyfire News, the best UFO show on the internet. Skyfire News is on the internet. Skyfire News. Skyfire News. UFO show on the internet. Skyfire News is on the internet.